All right, in today's video, we're gonna be installing an awesome new product from Ciro 3D. It is a vent light. This is for the batwing fairing. In this video, it's for 24 and newer Harley-Davidsons with that fairing redesign. Welcome back, Bikeaholics. Ryan Urlacher, lawbudingbiker.com. Always thank you. That's right, you, for checking back in. There's a couple different things to consider when purchasing this vent light. You can either get the standard wiring adapter, which is gonna just give you run and turn capabilities, but I submit you should upgrade to the Light Strike Commander, which is what we're gonna do in this video. That is going to give us the capability to program different light patterns using the smartphone app. Like I always say, for safety, adding additional light to the front of your bike, the rear of your bike is always a good thing to do. Anything you can do to make sure that those cagers see you. Additionally, it just really spruces up your bike. All right, and as always, Ciro 3D stuff is just amazing quality. I've been waiting for it to come out, so I'm super excited. This is gonna be the first product that I get to install on my 24 Street Glide. So what do you say we get wrenching, huh? Oh, but before we do, make sure you hit that subscribe button and bell icon every time there's a hit. Another biker joins the revolution. We'd love to have you be part of it. All right, first thing you want to do is just remove your seat. That's my beloved heated Saddleman road sofa from the Law Abiding Biker store. Secured with our extended Rick Rack seat bolt. We've got two different sizes, but for a full touring, you see with his fingers there, he can easily get that out of there. Much easier process than that stock bolt with screwdriver. We have them in black or chrome. And again, this is the extended version. We'll link to them in the description below. And with that bolt removed, you can go ahead and slide this seat out of the way. And mine is heated, so he's got to get the accessory plug undone there. And that'll give us access underneath the seat here. Okay, so he's just getting a little alcohol on a rag, and the reason is he's going to clean that off right there because that is where we are going to stick the Light Strike Commander box, and we want to make sure it sticks with the tape real good. All right, on the Light Strike Commander box is some 3M sticky tape. Pull the backing, and he's going to go ahead and move this into place, and this is where they advise to mount this guy. And it'll just give some good pressure, make sure that is stuck on there real good. Next, you're gonna wanna find your main harness plug there, and he'll go ahead and push the tab and pull that guy apart. And I wanna mention real quick that if you're not using the Light Strike Commander for whatever reason, and you're just using the standard wiring adapter, it's pretty simple. It just plugs in right here where we split the main plug. All right, so you see him holding the actual Light Strike Commander plug there. This is the OEM plug where we split it. And that's really what you're doing, is just splitting everything. So he'll go ahead and plug this guy in here. It only goes one way there. Make sure it clicks into place there. And he'll take the other plug on the Light Strike Commander and plug it the other side of the OEM plug there. And again, you've just split that is what you've done. So we've got to get access to the battery here. There's two big plugs up here. We're gonna have to get off the top tray. Basically, you just pull up on the back and you'll see, and then he'll slide it out. They're just little slider rails there that they're in. So again, lift up on the back and slide to the rear and kind of get those out of our way. And there's just two accessory plugs there. He'll just pop those out of the way a little bit so we can get this tray off. And last up front there, there's a little tab and a tongue there. You just gotta pop that out, and that will allow him here to get this plastic tray out of the way. All right, and then we're gonna get the ECM out of the way. There's two tabs up front there. You just kind of pull on those, and then this entire thing, you'll see will kind of lift up and out of the way. And then underneath there is our battery and our terminals. All right, so the negative terminal is exposed, but we're gonna have to take off one more thing here. This kind of plastic grate thing, because it's blocking the positive terminal. That's a Torx T27. There's just one bolt down in there that he'll back out. So now he's just working on routing his negative and positive lead to the battery, and that does have an inline fuse in it. Should be in there, but just obviously make sure. All right, so this is kind of the way you'll want to route it. You'll see coming off the Light Strike Commander, you've got a negative and positive. We're just going right over the top here. We've mocked it all up. You're gonna have to get that plastic grate in your tray, and there's just enough slack if you do route it this way. That should work out for you. And then we pull our ECM out of the way there. So with our ECM out of the way here, you're just gonna go ahead and back off the negative screw there on the terminal. You don't have to take it all the way out because these are spade connectors. And he'll go ahead and slide that guy on the negative terminal, black of course, and he'll get that tightened down. Now he's working on his positive terminal. Again, just back it out a few turns, and he'll slide that spade connector onto the positive terminal, red of course, and snug that down. And he'll work that plastic grate back into place now. Just a little finesse there and move those wires out of your way. And there's not a lot of extra on these leads, so it's a little bit of a pain just to finesse this grate back in there, but I at least wanted to show you how it goes. You can see that hook over here. It goes up and over the top there, and everything else kind of slides underneath, so we can get that front bolt hole lined up there. And that's the bolt that he's putting back in there with his Torx T27 in the front there. And now he'll take that ECM and you kind of slide the rear on there first. Remember those two tabs up front. Just kind of work everything back into position here. Once he clears everything there, you can go ahead and snap that front in. And he'll just slide that plastic tray back into position there, and it slides in the rear there. And then don't forget that front tab on the tongue there. And he'll slide these two OEM plugs back into the slider trays there. And starting with the rear there, and he'll slide it back towards the tank here and get those secured into place. All right, now you have leads, of course, coming off your Light Strike Commander. The brown leads there go to your right side, and the purple go to your left side, so just be aware of that. If you find value in this completely free video and believe in my mission to help as many bikers as possible around the world, please consider supporting us by shopping in the Law Abiding Biker store. We're always adding trusted biker-approved products. And unlike the big corporate stores, we're real everyday bikers who genuinely care about this community and about taking care of you. And I'll place a link in the description below, along with other opportunities not only to support me, but to get involved in this awesome community. We're going to have to get this fairing removed, and there's 3 different bolts, and the first one, just turn your mirror. You can see it's right up top there, and that is a Torx T27 that he's going to be using. You can see that one's real long there. All right, and from there we'll move down up underneath the right side here, and that's just a Torx T27 on a socket extension there. You can go ahead and back that one out. You can see it's a bit shorter. From there we'll move to the very bottom of the right side of the fairing here. And you see that one's a longer one. So just remember to put these back in the correct way. Your 2 long ones go top and very bottom, and in the middle is your shortest one. And last, on each side is a plastic rivet with a Phillips screwdriver. You can back that out, and it is plastic. And which is something like a plastic trim tool, so you don't mar anything. He's just going to back the rest of that rivet base out there. All right, and you're just moving around to the left side here, and it's the same exact process, the 3 bolts and the 1 plastic rivet. All right, moving on in, we're gonna remove the windshield here, and that is a Torx T25. Pretty basic. You've got 2 bolts, top and bottom, each side of the windshield there. Just moving up to the top one there. All right, just moving over to his last one. You don't have to worry about the windshield falling because you've got little hooks here. And with that, you can go ahead and just slide the windshield up and out of the way here. And there's 2 bolts here on your windshield blocks, and 2 on the left side, of course. Torx T27. Moving on up to the other one there. And we'll move over to the left side and remove those 2 also. Got his last one removed there. And with those bolts removed, you can go ahead and lift this windshield panel out of the way. All right, and to get this air deflector removed, there's 1 bolt. You can expose it like so. Torx T25 is what he's going to use to get that off of there. And I'll finish getting that out of there with a magnet tool. All right, both sides of the wind deflector. Back in here, you've got little white tabs, and you'll see them back in there. You'll just want to grab a pry tool of any kind. We're using a plastic one so we don't mar anything, and you're just going to push on the back of that white tab, and that will pop that side out, and then we'll move to the other side. Once those are popped, you can go ahead and remove the wind deflector. So we've got 2 more bolts that are holding this fairing on, and right up there, that's a Torx T27 that he's working on, 1 of those on each side. And he is pushing up against the fairing, holding it, because with the release of these 2 last bolts, it is going to release the whole fairing, so you don't want it to drop off, of course. And he's moving over, and that is his last one, and that's going to release the entire front fairing here. With those 2 bolts removed, you can go ahead and rock the fairing off there. Don't forget it is wired behind there, the headlight, so we're going to have to remove that. Got a rag on the fender so we don't scratch it up. And inside the fairing is your main headlight plug, just a push and pull plug there. And with that, you can go ahead and remove the fairing off of there. So with the batwing fairing off, you'll want to note inside here, there's 4 bolts, 2 on each side. And he's going to start removing those, loosening them, I should say. We're not going to remove them all the way, but that's a Torx T25 that he's using. Once we get them loose, you'll see we'll be able to slide this forward. He'll go ahead and move over to the other side here and grab these 2. All right, and with all 4 loosened, now you can see he'll go ahead and push that vent forward. And by doing so, that allows it to drop out. All right, so now he's just got some blue painter's tape, and he's just going to put some strips of tape across the fairing here. And the reason is we're going to be drilling some holes to fish the wires through, and we don't want to chip the paint or anything like that, so he will just apply that. All right, so he's got his blue protective tape on there. Now he's got a ruler, and what you're basically doing, we're going to mark a line here in a minute. But on both sides, you've got this little horseshoe cutout. He's basically, just get it close. The top of this ruler here is kind of in the center of that little cutout, and from there, he'll make a straight line across there. And so with that lined up, he'll draw his line across the top here. All right, so now he can take his actual vent light there, and he's going to set it just a little bit above the line there. And you see those wires coming out of it? We want to mark where those are going to go through the fairing, actually where we're going to drill. So on the inside of there, and he's already got his other line there, it's kind of going to make an T there, if you will. He's going to mark both sides there, and he'll do that on the other side. As that's where we're going to drill. Again, that is where the wires are going to go through the fairing. All right, so he marked both sides of the wires, and you can see he put a little dot right in the middle because that's exactly where we're going to drill. But before you do that, just make sure you've done everything right. A couple of these grommets come in your kit. He's going to go ahead and line that up with exactly where he's going to drill to make sure that it clears the side of the fairing. Just do that on both sides. And he's checked the other one there, and we look like we're good to go here. So he's got our step bit here, and 9/16 is where he's marking that with tape so he doesn't go any deeper than that. All right, and he can go ahead. We've got it properly marked, and he'll start drilling his hole. Again, that tape is to mark how deep to go on that step bit. All right, there we go. 1 down and 1 to go. All right, with our holes drilled now, he's going to go ahead and remove that blue painter's tape. Okay, so now we've got that plate we took off the fairing there. This doesn't have to be exact, but basically you can see he's starting back there and there's a gap and he's sliding it forward. There's a real happy spot there to where it curves really nice with that panel. It's right up near the front edge of it, but just find that. Again, it doesn't have to be exact, and just kind of mocking it up here where we're actually gonna stick it on. And so now he has it in the spot where he wants it. He's gonna mark where the back of it goes there, because when you actually go to stick this down, you really only get one shot at it. And so you want to be exact with that. Coming in with his alcohol there, rubbing alcohol and rag. And he'll go ahead and clean this up real good. Get all the oils off before we stick this 3M tape on. All right, so that's the back side of the light there. He's going to go ahead and remove the backing to the 3M tape there. And again, with his blue tape there, he's got it marked real good so he can easily line up the back edge of that. Make sure it's centered, of course, find that happy spot. And then from there, he's just going to go ahead and apply pressure to really get that stuck on there good. Okay, so now he can go ahead. We're going to put the panel back on the fairing, and we've got the holes there now. We'll put those through first. Don't worry, we can put the grommets on in a moment because they do have a slit in them. All right, this is the panel. Those are the screws earlier that we just loosened a little bit. Those go down here, both sides in the corresponding holes, and then it can slide into place. So he's gonna work his wires down there on the underside, and he'll line all that hardware up there on both sides. And he got it in place there. And just to mention, before you slide this back into place and tighten it down, You add your 2 bolts, one on each side, and if you tighten this down, you won't be able to get those on later. That's when we actually put the fairing back on. And this actually holds them from falling out. So make sure before you slide this back into place, you get those positioned first so they're ready to go when you install your fairing again. All right, he's flipped his fairing over, holding the panel in place. Of course, the hardware that we worked through, those holes on the other side, AT Torx 25 on those guys, and 2 on both sides there, so just get those snug down. All right, he's got the rubber grommets that come in your kit, and you see how it has a slit in it there. You can go ahead and work it around the wires that come through there. And it's just a standard rubber grommet. He'll just work it around with a screwdriver there, kind of popping it halfway through to the other side there. So to remove this tank, we're first going to disconnect our fuel line. It's a quick disconnect. There's a silver collar he's going to pull up on, and they can be a bugger, especially when they're new. And he'll pull down on the actual line at the same time. And you'll see he has it disconnected there. Just put a rag down, you will spill a little fuel. All right, so up underneath the front of your tank there's one main plug we're gonna have to disconnect to remove the tank. And that's your standard plug. He's gonna reach up in there. It's just got a push tab on it. And at the same time, you can pull the back of that plug out there. And up at the front of your tank, you've got 2 fuel vent lines. One does not have a clamp on it. He's gonna go ahead, it's a plastic line. You just pull it out of the rubber line there. The other one has an ear clamp. The best way to deal with this ear clamp is just get a screwdriver in between it and the line and kind of spread that apart a little bit and get it loosened. And with that loosened up, you can go ahead and separate that line. There's 2 front tank bolts to remove on each side, but they've got rubber covers on them. He's gonna go ahead and remove the left side front tank bolt. That's a Torx T40. The same exact on the other side. And on the rear of the tank are also 2 Torx T40 bolts that he's going to remove. And move it on to the second one there. All right, with everything removed, he can go ahead and get this tank up and out of the way. And just real quick, we'll get right back into your video. As you can imagine, a lot of man hours and expenses go into keeping this channel going strong. There is a way you can support us by becoming a patron member. I will link to it in the description below. There are benefits for becoming a member, such as t-shirts and stickers. You get access to the private Facebook group, which is a troll-free zone. It really is nothing but bikers helping bikers in there. You get access to live video broadcasts and chat podcasts early, premium videos up on request, and of course, access to those ride, meetup, and events. We appreciate you considering becoming a patron member. Let's get back into your video. Okay, so as you can see, removing the tank is not that big a deal. We just suggest doing it. It makes this project cleaner. Some people try to sneak them up underneath the tank and all that, the wires, but because we have it off, we'll easily be able to run these leads up the backbone. We'll be able to zip tie them properly and get everything secured down. So moving back here, of course, we already installed that Light Strike Commander, and you've got wires coming off of it. And these leads that he's holding come in your kit. These are the ones that we're going to run up the backbone to the fairing. So he's going to take one of those leads, and in this case, it's the purple. That is for your left side. And then remember, brown to brown is for your right side. And now he can just start running these leads and kind of popping them through the fairing there. You find a good spot to do that. And then wire management here is really going to be up to you, kind of how you want to secure everything down. So certainly, if you want to keep these wires on the exterior, you could zip tie them to the other lines and all that. But we're going to do a more professional job than that. And we've already got the tank off. We're going to open the tray and go right up the backbone where all the other wires go for a very clean install. So the first time you do this, stock out of the factory, you're going to have to clip these zip ties that go over the tray. We never put those back on. They're not necessary. So just snip them and get them out of the way. Also from the factory, they put some tape around this. Again, not necessary for us. Once we remove it, we won't be replacing that. From there, he's just going to go along the side here and start working. There's just little tabs that go through there. From there, he's just going to start popping these tabs along the side that take off this tray cover. All right, from here, there's just little tabs all along the side of this tray cover, and you're just gonna start working those in and popping this cover. You can see I got a couple of them there, and they just run along both sides here. And he's just working his way along there, and he's worked up to the front there, and you can see that exposes that tray, and we'll have a nice clean installation now. And now he'll take those leads, and again, this is really up to you what you do, but he'll do a nice professional job running those up through the proper trough here. That was pretty quick, and he'll just go ahead and go back on with his trough cover here. Of course, tabs along both sides, and just he'll be snapping those back into place. And again, how you route wires up here is completely up to you. You can see the leads coming out. Just make sure you don't, pull things too tight. Leave just a little slack. Zip tie things where you want as necessary. All right, so those are our leads. We ran all the way up the backbone through the fairing. Also in your kit comes these splitters. At this time, we're only installing the vent light, so we really wouldn't need the splitters, but I want to future-proof. You could always put them on later, but we're going to put them on now. And that would allow me, as I get more front Ciro products, I could tap into these. And you could even split them a second time and put more accessories. So I'll just leave them in there. They'll be available at such time I do that. All right, you're going to go ahead and put the tank back into place here, positioning over the backbone there. And he's just getting those rear holes lined up there. And he'll go back in and at least get both rear bolts fingers started here. We won't tighten them completely down until we make sure we can get the front ones lined up. Gives us a little extra play. And he'll get the bolts on both sides of the front of the tank finger started. And he's moving in with his Torx T40, and he'll get both these front bolts snug down. And I'll put the rubber pieces back over the front bolts. They're labeled right and left. And he'll just place that back over the bolt. And he'll come to the rear here, Torx T40, and tighten both these down. And he'll grab that plug underneath the front of the tank there, and he'll plug that back in. And then we'll go ahead and pop our fuel line back in here, like so. All right, then you have your two vent lines. The lower one there, of course, pretty obvious. It's got your ear clamp on it. He'll push that back on. And he's putting his top line back into place there. And you can just use a pair of wire cutters, and you can pinch that ear clamp and tighten it up. Okay, so you've got your two leads here. Of course, that's coming off the vent light we just installed. And of course, those are the leads coming up the backbone of the bike. And of course, remember, we've got extra plugs because we put the splitters on them. Also, if you appreciate this detailed video and all the tutorials we put out on the channel, please consider purchasing this product or any other Ciro products in the law-abiding biker store. We're just a bootstrap company of bikers trying to help as many bikers as we can worldwide. We will take care of you. We appreciate every customer. Also, no tax on non-Washington residents and free shipping over $100. And so now he can just plug in, again, your purple to purple for your left side and your brown to brown for the right side. And again, we put those splitters on. So I've got extra plugs for adding future Ciro products. And I will link to all the products in the description below. He's going to go ahead and finish off by plugging in his headlight. And he can rock his fairing up into place there. And Torx 27, 2 up top to get started. Just setting his air deflector back in place there, or vent if you will. And the 1T Torx 25 bolt goes up there. Going back on with his windshield panel and blocks there, it sets in place. And the 4 bolts that we took out there, back in the windshield block there, 2 on each side. And that's a Torx T27 on those. And back on with the windshield there. And remember, just 4 bolts here. And he'll tighten those down with a Torx T25. And on each side you have your plastic rivet there. And you finish it off with your Phillips screwdriver and your plastic rivet screw. Remember, on the inside of your fairing on each side you've got 2 long, that's top and bottom, and the short one goes in the center position. And he'll finish all those off with a Torx T27. And so because we didn't put the standard wire adapter, we went with the Light Strike Commander, which I highly recommend. You'll see why in a minute, because we're going to light this thing up. That's going to allow me to connect with my smartphone and give this thing different patterns. So obviously, Android, iOS go to your device, go to the App Store. What I did find is when I was searching in the App Store, I just typed Ciro, it did not populate. I actually had to type Ciro Central, and then it came up, and it is called the Central Hub app. Of course, download the app and let the fun begin. So it's the Ciro Central Hub. It's all combined into one now. You got the shock and awe, of course, but we're doing the light strike. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit that guy, and we're gonna go ahead and allow. And so now we're gonna wanna fire the bike up so it can actually find it. So we'll go ahead and fire this bad boy up, and it says connecting, and then it's gonna want a password. And we're gonna put in 6 zeros, and that's gonna be your stock password. Looks for a firmware update, and we're gonna go ahead and do that. And of course, this is actually updating via Bluetooth the Light Strike Commander box itself underneath my seat. And that's complete. We can go ahead and go into Light Strike. You can see the Light Strike Commander. It's gonna go ahead and connect here. We're gonna ask for our password again, 6 zeros. And you can see it recognized my Vent batwing light. There's gonna be multiple different things you're gonna be able to pair with the Light Strike Commander as the accessories come out. So they'll be listed here so you can make adjustments to those particular items. We'll go ahead and hit it, and it comes up with all our different settings, but we do need an update. We'll go ahead and do that. And that update is complete for the vent light. And we'll reconnect. And you can see now we have access to all of our different settings, which we'll go through here a bit. All right, so let's run through the app. This is just a real brief, but you can see your battery voltage. Power on animation is when it powers on, and there's different animations. You can see it behind me there. 1, 2, you can move it to 3 when your bike powers on. Self-explanatory there. You can change it to white. I have it on amber, but you could certainly change it to white if I'd quit fat fingering it there. And you can see it's white now. Moving down to run brightness, of course, you can see it dim behind me. That's how bright you want that bad boy to be. We can go way down there. Run color, of course, is you can switch it to amber if that's what you want. And then this run animation, you can turn that on. It's gonna give you a warning, check all your laws, all that kind of stuff, because this thing does this going down the road. So you're responsible for that. Animation modes, I like 6 the best for me, but you can switch it to 1. You can see it does different things as I go down, but I like 6 there. You can also change your color to white there if you want for your run animation. You can see I also have the yellow going across there. To make sense of this, this should actually be animation length in my opinion, but they said delay. That's how long the animation is gonna run for. So you can bump it up or you can shorten it. It'll run for 5 seconds now. Interval is how long it will pause between starting up again. So I've got it 5 and 5. Obviously animation speed is how fast you want that bad boy to go, and you can dim or brighten your animation brightness there. And then if you scroll down further, you got run breathe. When you turn this on, it's gonna give you the same warning, check your laws. It turns this off. And so you can see we've got a breathing effect now on the light. You can do minimum brightness again. You've got all that. And frequency, how often you want it to do that. And of course, brightness here. So scrolling down to turn mode here, you can do turn strobe effect or whatever you want here, but you see it changes because my signal's on. We can change how we want that pattern. So that's pretty cool. A lot of stuff to do in here. You can turn off the strobe effect if you want more of a signal, or the strobe effect. So scrolling down, you can change your white temperature from white to amber, kind of where you want that to be if you're familiar with like Kelvin, and then your amber temperature towards white, so you can play with that too. And so a lot of adjustability within the app. Just sit down and spend some time with it.